this is Mariah Gullo from The Hollywood Reporter, and I'm in studio today with Hannah Marks, Jeremy White, and Joey Power. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. We're here to talk about your new movie, After Everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's quite obvious that this is a very young crew of people here. So, Hannah and Joey, you co-wrote and co-directed the movie. Can you tell me a little bit about the challenges of being so young and directing your first feature film?
Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, for me, when Marissa Tomei was on set playing our doctor, I was like, oh my God, I've never been a doctor. And she has an Oscar. And, it was really intimidating.
You were great with her, I thought. Yeah.
Inside, I was scared. Not because, she's incredible, but, that's definitely nerve-wracking. And I think if I was a bit older, would have been less intimidating.
Yeah, I think they're probably like mistakes that you would make though at any age directing your first movie. And
Definitely.
I think one of the good things about being younger was like the characters are young and still being able to relate. Like Hannah was the age of the characters when we shot the movie.
Right.
So like being able to get into that headspace was a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what made you want to write this movie? It's a kind of an unusual love story.
I think Joey and I are really neurotic, and we always feel like we're getting sick, and I have always felt like if something hurt, it must be a tumor or whatever. So that was a huge part of it and our personalities. And Joey just had a flu or a fever one day.
I had a fever. I had like 101 fever, and I was dating my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and I was like, I want to marry this girl. Like, it sucks so much. If this were like actually a real sickness and things turned, and that was sort of like the,
Did you think it was a real sickness, or did you know you just?
I mean, like I hadn't been.
Or do
that
you
sick.
always think it's?
I hadn't been. I mean, sort of. I veer in that direction,
Yeah.
but I hadn't been that sick in like 5 years. And
Right.
when you're like actually lying in bed and feeling like you haven't been out of bed in 4 days, you lose all context
Right.
of
like real.
Yeah.
But I think we both felt like the more interesting part of the story is that it's actually about a young marriage and a relationship, and not as much about the cancer.
Yeah.
Right, and it takes a trajectory that's a little different than most movies where it's boy and girl meet and then will they or won't they, and
I think we didn't want like the stakes of the movie to be tied to the sickness as much as we did to the relationship, without giving too much away. I think the thing that felt exciting about writing this movie was like taking the tropes that you see in other movies that deal with sickness and trying to like figure out ways to kind of subvert them.
Like, for example, you always see these kind of cancer movies with these extravagant bucket lists that are really expensive. And we're like, most kids, if they got sick, couldn't afford any of this. So like having a threesome is very free. And
drugs are relatively
cheap, and going on the water, Staten Island ferry, that's free.
Yeah.
So what are the things you can do that you can still afford when you're sick?
Right. A bucket list for broke people.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Nice. Jeremy, tell me a little bit about your character Elliot. What was it like stepping into that role?
Elliot is this guy who's kind of like wandering aimlessly when you meet him. He lives with his best friend, but they spend most of their time kind of trying to pick up girls and hanging out in bars, and they have this app they've been working on, but it's a very like half-baked idea. They haven't put much thought into it, and I got the sense, and I think it's right, that Elliot's never really had a real relationship. I think it's kind of been, he's had this life kind of hookup after hookup, and Mia comes into his life at kind of this crazy time when he finds out that he's sick, and then you get to see Elliot and Mia, who Micah plays. You get to see their relationship kind of like in fast forward. It's this extremely accelerated pace. Because of his illness. Everything has to do with his illness, and then what's kind of fun, or what I found really fun, most fun, there are a lot of fun things about this script, but what I found most fun was kind of when
the
you
ball
stop.
Cap, right?
Yeah, the ball cap is the most fun. But it was when you stop fast forwarding, you kind of, there's a very sudden like pause or stop. and that's when he's healthy, and they're married. And I think trying to figure out their relationship at that point and kind of this, you know, acceleration into adulthood was exciting for me, you know, as an actor to explore any character kind of like in that stage of trying to find out what kind of a person they are really, you know, what an adult they are.
This is probably a question for all three of you, but the chemistry between Elliot and Mia, you and Micah, how did that develop? Like, how were you able to kind of bring it out? Because they definitely have a really
We just struck
interesting...
gold.
Yeah,
Micah's just really good.
We were so lucky.
Got lucky.
We didn't hang out that much before. We tried a lot, I remember. I met her
You
at
guys met at
South by.
yeah.
She had a movie there, the South by, before we had our movie there. And we like ran into each other and in a very big group kind of all got drunk collectively one night, but we didn't necessarily hang out that much. But then we got there and I think, yeah, she's just really good and
you were
got
too.
lucky
Yeah.
and you know and it worked, I think, which was lucky.
I don't know what we would have done if we didn't have them. Joey likes to say we would have a bad movie.
That's this thing.
Which I think is totally true. We got so lucky.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Yeah, and Jeremy, your character has a little similarities to your character on Shameless. How has Shameless kind of prepared you for these like romantic movie roles?
Romantic movie roles.
You know, it sounds a little odd, but it's kind of true.
How is Lip? I don't know. I mean, I think the interesting thing about not necessarily Lip, but like playing one character for so long is that I've grown a lot with Lip, and I've kind of, it sounds so actory and dumb, but like I think I've learned things from him, and you know, I try to teach him things sometimes. And so I think just like working on one character for that long and trying to find out what's changing in him all the time is helpful in reading, you know, other characters and trying to connect them to what I'm going through at any given point. So immediately, kind of what I was talking about before, what interested me in Elliot was him kind of being on the cusp of adulthood and then trying to learn something from Elliot. And in that, I think really trying to, you know, embody him was easy because I was just so interested in him. I was so curious about him. But they also made it really easy because, you know, they wrote a really lovely script with these two very, you know, fleshed out characters that that needed a lot from one another, and that's always something easy to play. It makes, you know, it makes the actor's job easy.
Do you think you learned anything from him?
No.
Well, he's now having a baby. I mean, circle
I mean,
of life.
yeah, I was thinking about that today. I mean, I was, because, you know,
Just saying.
the film was previously called Shotgun, and, you know, you automatically think of Shotgun Wedding, and this was, you know, which is usually because of you got a baby on the way kind of thing, but this was about an illness, so I was kind of thinking about, baby girl coming into the world and Elliot, and if it had been, you know, a more straightforward Shotgun Wedding, you know.
Yeah, and all of you are so young and really throwing yourselves into your careers, and I think it's really interesting how these two characters surround themselves with, you know, other people their own age who are, you know, sex obsessed, weed smoking, TV watching, like kind of wasting their time. Did you ever have a phase like this when you were young, or did you guys kind of skip over that and get right into the business of working?
I think you can do both simultaneously.
Yeah.
You can do both, but I did live in a house with 5 other dudes, and then there was one guy additionally who for like 6 months lived in a stairwell between the garage and the bathroom. So I feel like that's like the closest.
Wow.
But by choice, he could have afforded an apartment. He wanted to like
You just live
live
that
in
life.
it. He wanted to be in the house with the dudes.
Yeah.
One of the apps in the movie that they're trying to make is called Instajizz, where, sorry, you can cut this out if you want, but it's where you can just automatically put jizz on anyone's face if you hate them.
That's
and
Nico's genius
So that was
idea.
neat.
Cut out
Anyways,
of
it
the
got
movie,
cut out of
too.
the movie. Shocking.
Weirdly.
But anyways, that was a real one of my friends. I remember him pitching that when he was drunk, and he was
I
dead
also
serious.
Duran
so.
pitched it really. He was so hyped on that.
Duran.
Duran, who plays
Yeah,
Nico, Duran Horton. Yeah, he was so great. But
So
in the
good.
scene where he's pitching that, he was,
It was
like
his.
jazzed about it,
Yeah.
man. He was like, "This is it," you know. It
Yeah.
was funny.
I loved his inflections with Insta-jizz. It was always like, Insta-jizz!
Yeah.
It's like Instagram, he's like...
No.
Well, before I let you go, I have a couple of quick questions for you. The first director who inspired you?
This is cheesy, but Steven Spielberg, Catch Me If You Can.
Oh,
I think.
yeah. I liked, I think when I saw The Talented Mr. Ripley, that had like such, I was like, whoa, that's a movie. I was probably too young to have seen it. But I just thought it was so beautiful, and so Anthony Minghella, who directed that, it was great.
I think like one answer is Tamara Davis, who made Billy Madison. And
That works with her.
Or I would just say, like Paul Thomas Anderson, like
Yeah,
probably
also
every
Thomas
other
Anderson, yeah. Boogie
person who
Nights was
sits in one
big.
of
all
those
your
chairs.
bases
Yeah.
there.
Just cover all the bases.
Yeah. Best movie idea that hasn't been made yet?
I would have written it if I knew it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, same. We should try and
Let's
we shouldn't
try.
share
We
it
got
with you
some,
guys. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
Last movie you saw that moved you to tears?
That was the last movie I saw. It was 8th grade. I thought it was amazing. Yeah, and also just thinking of 8th grade girl, and I couldn't
Oh,
help but
yeah.
thinking about baby girl in middle school, and yeah.
I think Still Alice.
Oh
For
yeah.
me, that was, I left weeping like a baby after that one.
I don't know, but I am rereading Harry Potter right now, and I'm on the last book, and I cried 2 days ago while I was reading it.
Really, the last
Yeah,
one?
Yeah.
It does get pretty.
It gets really,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you really...
You rereading all of them?
Yeah, I was just going to reread the first one for, like,
then
a
you can't
work thing,
stop.
and then I was like,
Yeah.
2 months later
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
last book.
And the worst piece of advice you've received from the industry? You don't have to call out names.
So many.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I met some guy. He's kind of a friend of mine, but maybe not anymore. But he was like, no matter how unhappy you get, just keep going. And I was like, what kind of advice is that?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the idea that you have to pick one career in order to be successful is just not true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like to go balls to the wall and try and pursue as many possible things and see what sticks.
Yeah.
I got like, you don't know how to write, go back to film school, or go to film school.
Go back to
Go
film
to
school.
film school, period.
Brutal. That's terrible. That's not really advice. That's just mean.
I guess the advice is go to film school, and they just like added an insult into the advice to
Yeah, I don't
knock me
like this
down a couple
person.
pegs.
And finally, as young Hollywood, do you have any hopes for the industry moving forward?
It's a big
Yeah,
question.
I mean, I think just keep letting young people make things. Like, give them the money, give them the people. Let them tell their stories, and I think that's happening. Obviously, we're sitting here, but to keep it up,
Yeah, I think
give them
it's
the opportunities.
I think it's really cool that people in the middle of nowhere can see whatever movie they want now because of all these streaming services. So like, movies like ours can now be seen
Yeah.
everywhere, which is so cool. That wasn't the case before unless
Yeah.
you had an art house theater in your town. So I think that's exciting, but I hope it keeps going that way, and I hope theaters stay alive and
Yeah.
also succeed. So it's a tricky balance, and I don't know the solution to that.
Theaters, yes, I hope they continue to exist. That's like a thing that I hope for. And also, like, because there's so much stuff, I hope that people, like, it's not just like about consuming the thing and then like moving on to the next show or movie or whatever, but like that, when someone makes something, that the people who watch it hopefully like will sit with it for 2 seconds before they check their phones and
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
hopefully it might make an impact on them.
Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
I concur.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. The movie is After Everything.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Yeah, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.